everyone, and welcome to this preview stream of Distant Worlds 2, Return of the Shakturi. Let me turn off the intro music here, and we will get started. Hi everyone, how are you doing today? Everything coming through loud and clear? Someone could type in the chat and confirm that for me. I would appreciate it. In the meantime, we will lay out sort of what this stream is about. So, we have been working for really for most of this year, though intensely for the last several months, on Return of the Shakturi, which is the first major expansion, feature expansion for Distant Worlds 2. For those of you who've played Distant Worlds 1, you might have an idea what this is about. For those that haven't, this adds for the first time a proper endgame crisis to Distant Worlds 2. So it also gives you quite a story to go along with that crisis and a bunch of new features and improvements to go along with all of that. Some of these features are exclusive to the Return of the Shakturi, excuse me. Some of them are going to be given out to the community as part of a free update that goes along with Return of the Shakturi, just as a benefit of all the development work on Return of the Shakturi. And by the way, I'm Erik Rutins. I'm the producer and a co-designer for Distant Worlds 2. So, let me give you folks a little bit of an intro. The Shakturi are an ancient alien faction, and if you've played through Distant Worlds 2's existing storyline, you've probably picked up hints of them in the backstory, things they left behind, and the fact that they played a role in the last big cataclysm that destroyed the ancient galaxy and left its ruins for you to explore and find. And as you might guess from the title, Return of the Shakturi, without spoiling too much, the Shakturi are coming back. Apparently they're not entirely gone. And so I'm going to give you guys a preview first. I don't want to spoil too much of it, but I'm going to give you a preview first of some of the new features that you'll see in the game when playing Return of the Shakturi. Some is exclusive to Return of the Shakturi, some will be part of the update that goes along with it. And I'll give you an idea of the beginnings of the Shakturi storyline so that you can see how that unfolds. So we will not be playing through to the end. So looks like I am seeing I'm seeing a message in chat, so I'm assuming you all are hearing me. So let's get started. Here I am playing as the Agdarian Empire. I am a monarchy, and we can ignore that little test screen. I'm a monarchy here. I've got a pretty good situation in that I've survived a series of wars against the Kuristar Conformity, which is a hive mind Viskar empire right next to me. I've been fighting war after war after war with them, about 4 wars so far since I started this game. And I've also been fighting some wars against the Great Dagru Hive, a Gazurian cell hegemony on the other side of me. My closest allies are the Tikan Industries to the north here, and I've been trying to get them to a defense pact, but they have not agreed yet. So what we're going to do is, I happen to know that I've played up to a point where relatively soon the Shakturi storyline will kick off. So we're going to play this sort of as a normal game, show you a few of the new things, and then when the Shakturi come in, we will see how that all unfolds. And at the end of this stream, I have a couple of special things to show you all as a little cherry on top for the Shakturi previews. So, first things first, I'm going to get things started here. I'm in between wars now, so right now we're at a moment of peace. My economy is starting to recover from the last war. You can see I have some fairly well-developed colonies here. I've got my palace, my administration center, fighter bases, space trader bazaar, things like that. I've tried to upgrade my defenses as part of these wars. I've got several fleets, a lot of defense fleets, several major fleets. But one of the things you'll notice down here is something called an outpost. So let's go over to that. This happens to be in a Gravitic storm area here, and you'll notice that this outpost here has a suitability for my people at 0. It's got 50 million people on it. And the only thing I could build, if I could afford it right now, would be a terraforming facility. So what is an outpost? One of the things that we added into Return to the Shakturi is the ability to create outposts. So when you look around the galaxy, you will find that there are worlds that are simply not suitable enough for you to colonize. And in the case where you can't colonize them normally, so for example, if we look at Trillar Jagan 5 here, its suitability is a -13. So it's not possible to sustain colonization there. But we could establish an outpost there. And what an outpost allows us to do, it allows us to do several things. It really has a few main purposes. The first is it claims territory. So if you put an outpost in a system, it claims territory. And if that system is relatively close to your other systems, that will connect to your existing territory. The second thing it will do is, if you've played Distant Worlds 2, you know that there's a colonization range limit. So if you are trying to get to a really juicy colony, and it's pretty far away, and I made use of this earlier in this game, if it's pretty far away and you can't quite get there in terms of being able to support that colony from where you are, if you establish an outpost in between you and that more distant colony that you really want, that'll extend your colonization range. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is that you can, as I pointed out, once you've established an outpost, you can actually build a terraforming facility there. And for some cases where those colonies are right on the edge of becoming or those planets are right on the edge of being able to support full colonies, that can let you have a chance to transform something that wouldn't normally be something you could put a colony on into something that you could potentially colonize. Now, I will say there's been a rebalance of sorts in terms of how colonization and terraforming works. So I will say that if you can see here, for example, like with the outposts, the cost of supporting an outpost on a +1 suitability world is only 500 credits per year. But if you get down to some of these really extreme ones, like a -41 sandy desert planet, basically constant, you could imagine this being constant sandblasting sandstorms and 500-degree temperatures or who knows what. That's 25-50 credits a year. So maintaining some outposts can get expensive. So you have to pick and choose on that. And yes, if you make an outpost on a planet, then no one else can colonize it. Of course, they could destroy your outpost or conquer your outpost, but they wouldn't be able to send a colony ship and turn your outpost into their colony. That stakes a claim. So an outpost is a way to stake a territorial claim without making a full colony, or where you could make a full colony. I will say that, again, if you have a planet that's right on the edge and you build an outpost there and you build a terraforming facility there, there are planets in a range that you can get them up to be, profitable colonies, but there will be a lot more of them where you can get them up to be colonies. So if you want to have a more substantial population there, you can. But they're always going to be expensive colonies. Some of these are, you're really working on the very edge of your habitable zone where your people can survive without extraordinary means. Is Distant Worlds 2 easy to learn and understand for a non-4X grand strategy player? Well, I would say if you've never played grand strategy and 4X games, you will have a lot to learn. And Distant Worlds 2 is a fairly complex 4X grand strategy game. So the one thing I will say about it that some other games don't have is that it does have a lot of automation. So you can start out, Distant Worlds 2 is going to frankly look a bit overwhelming to you, but you can start out automating pretty much everything, and then you can start turning one thing at a time back on. So for example, what I'm trying to express with that, if you wanted to, say, have your entire empire run itself and just control your research, you could do that. And you could say, I'm just going to pick my research projects and pick which research I'm going to specialize and focus in and how I'm going to invest my research funds. You could do that. If you just want to control one fleet, you could do that. So in one respect, within this very, epic, complex game, you can tailor it to be an easier game to learn than some others. But I will say it is not is not an easy game in and of itself, but we have provided the tools to make it easier. Did AI empires learn to bombard colonies? Yeah, zoom zoom, I've got something else to show you all pretty soon, which I think you'll be excited about. Because, well, let me finish up with outposts. So, so we covered stake a claim, extend your colonization range, extend your territory, allow terraforming to transform some things that are, not otherwise able to be full colonies into full colonies. And I think what we should do is take a look at what you can now do with your fleets. So I'm playing as the Kdarian monarchy here, so I do have a flagship, that's what that star means. But if we take a look over here at the enemy targets list, you all may notice that a few things here have changed. And this is something, by the way, that is directly caused by our work on Shakturi, but this one's, oops, and it looks like the story has begun. Alright, well, we'll get back to looking at that enemy targets list in just a second. So we just got a message here about destabilizing rifts. Gravitic rifts in several systems have begun to destabilize, distorting nearby space and producing effects that mystify our scientists. Some of the readings from these rifts suggest the presence of a powerful and unknown energy type. It is too early to determine how these destabilizations will affect neighboring systems or how far the damage will spread, but there is reason for alarm. A new energy source spreading throughout the galaxy could have serious, perhaps dire consequences. Our scientists have flagged the closest of these destabilizations at Usul 1 in the Usul system. It would be prudent to investigate this phenomenon further. And that looks like a destabilizing rift. So this just came out of nowhere, and we've got a navigational ping here. And if we take a look at our special locations, we now have indication here. This is a gravitic rift. We've got another one over, you can see the ping, the sort of top left of my screen view there. And then there's another one a little bit further, almost the left edge of the galaxy map that we now see. Let me turn my location badges back to basic. Let me just turn them off. Oops. Let me turn them off for a sec. This is going to turn on the exploration overlay though. So let me turn that off. There you go. So you can see now as each of them are pinged. So we've got these 3 gravitic rifts that have appeared. Now again, for those of you that have played Distant Worlds 2, you know that as you go through the galaxy, you find evidence of this gravitic destabilization, that a lot of the storylines tie that back to something that happened with the ancient cataclysm. So we've gotten this message saying that these rifts have destabilized, and at least some of them. So we have a choice now. Should we explore, or should we carry on doing things as we were doing? And while you guys think about that, I'm going to go back to the enemy targets list. So you will notice here that there are a whole bunch of new buttons here. And what might these buttons do? Well, let's take a look. So this would allow us to queue an attack against the Kuristar spaceport. This would allow us to queue the capture, to queue a raid, or to queue a blockade. And if we go down here a little further, you'll notice that for fleets and such, it's just an attack. But if we look at planets, we have queue clear defenses, queue bombardment, queue invasion, queue raid, and queue blockade. So what we've done here is, and we've gone back and we've massively improved the fleet logic as well, so that the AI fleets understand the system fully, and that includes resetting the prioritization of how it looks at queued orders to make the fleets more responsive to them. So the end result here is that you can now, using the enemy targets list, using your automated fleets, you can set up an attack plan, and you can do multiple of these. You can queue one fleet to clear the defenses, another fleet to blockade, another fleet to invade or bombard, and so forth. And a lot of these automated fleets are more intelligent now in that, for example, if you queue an invasion, if you just queue an invasion, you might see, if you have free attack fleets, that one of them queues itself then to clear the defenses, another one queues itself to bombard, to soften up the troops, depending on your policy settings, of course. There is a policy for bombardment. As you will notice for the Ectarians, we have set our bombardment to prohibited because we're nice guys. But it doesn't have to be that way. And when we get into a war, you'll see fleets reacting a lot more intelligently with regards to all of these queued orders. And that gives you just a lot more ability to, I guess, manage with this sort of guided automation that we've been using as one of our North Stars. That this sort of guided automation, so that if you again don't want to manually micromanage every fleet, but you want to use this as sort of a central coordination panel where you can then make sure your automated fleets are doing what you want them to do, it works a lot better than it ever has. And as I mentioned before, this is directly from the Shakturi development, but this is something that's coming out in the free update that goes out along with Shakturi. So let me refresh this, because I think... Yeah, okay. So once we get into a war, I will give you guys a look at that. In the meantime, should we explore that that gravitic rift, or leave it alone for now, and just keep going on our research and our recovery from the war and prepare ourselves otherwise? I'll wait for your guys' comments on that. Now, I'm still worried about another war with the Beskara or the Gazurians, so while these rifts are destabilizing, I'm going to go ahead and prepare for that. So one of the things you'll notice here in my policies is that for my fleet policies, I've taken full control of my fleets in terms of the policies. I like to do that personally. One of the things we are planning to do, which may still get in before the Shakturi release, is to split out this fleet postures into multiple different policies, so they are mutually supporting, so it's not an easy task to do. But one of the things I like to do is I like to have automated fleets, but to have those policies on manual so that I can set their own home bases and attack points. Let me talk about that for a sec. So you all know that the home base is where the fleet is going to effectively center itself and return to when it doesn't have another mission. Excuse me, the home base is also where your economy will plan for that fleet to spend the most of its time. So wherever you set as your home base will also then draw more resources, especially fuel and other construction resources used for fleet building than other places would. So the more fleets that are based at a place, the more its resource demand will increase. And then the attack point is something that effectively tells the AI what would be, if there were to be a war. I don't know, we'll just have a look here at these guys for a sec. If there were to be a war, what would our main initial attack area be? And if no other orders are queued for that fleet manually or through the enemy targets or otherwise, if you don't queue other things up, then you will see your fleets basically trying to go for those attack points. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to reset a couple things. I'm not seeing any chat here, so let me just restart this for a sec, just to make sure, because Twitch sometimes stalls out on me. So since I'm previewing Return of the Shakturi, barring anyone saying no, I will go ahead and explore that gravitic rift. So let's take one of our exploration ships here. Let's see, is there one close by? They all seem to be pretty far away. There's one down here, but you know what, we'll build a new one. What do we have near there? Titan. So we'll take the Titan spaceport. And we're going to go ahead and build a medium exploration ship there. And we're going to send that over to explore that gravitic rift nearby, just to see what happens. And meanwhile, I'm going to reset my fleets. So we have 2 attack fleets, the 2nd and the 8th, and those guys are set to, let's shift them down a little bit in terms of their attack range, just so they don't go too far afield. You can see the radius here showing me what their engagement range is. And we got 1 set to Triller Yagin, and these guys are very much oriented towards the Beskar right now. I'm going to shift the 2nd fleet over to Uralon, which is my capital system. And I'm going to set its home base to there and tell it to go refuel over there. And we've got the 3rd defense fleet here, the 1st defense fleet here. We get a strike force. Again, we'll limit that a little bit. Another strike force. That's good. That's the same strike force. And we got these guys over here. So I would like to really have another defense fleet over on the east side, but I think I'm going to wait for my economy to improve a bit more before I go ahead and do that. So let's see how Titan is doing. Pretty close to having that exploration ship built. There it is, it's coming out now. Alright, so we've got that exploration ship selected, and it looks like one of the others has already now been automatically assigned to go to this rift. But I'm going to go ahead and send ours here too. So let's go take a look at what's going on. Well, as for the question of what triggers the Shakturi, so that has actually been a fair amount of our focus during testing, is to figure out exactly the right way to trigger them and when. Obviously, as well as testing everything else that's new. But what we have so far is it looks at, and the exact details are still being tweaked, but it looks at your tech level, the player's tech level. It looks at the galaxy's tech level. It looks at whether you've set the policies when you're first setting up the galaxy, to whether you want an earlier or later or normal Shakturi entry, and it looks at how dominant the player is being in the galaxy. So it's a combination of all those things that helps determine this. Once this gets out of the nebula, it's going to be moving a lot faster. It's in an ion storm nebula right now around Titan. How is the Shakturi invasion strength calculated? The invasion strength, what we've tried to do is tailor the trigger settings so that the Shakturi strength is in that Goldilocks zone for when it is triggered. So we're trying to make sure that when they come in, they are at the right challenge for the player and the galaxy state at that time in that instant. That's what we're focusing on, rather than changing the strength of the Shakturi. We're trying to change when they come in to make sure that is at the best place possible. And it's already, frankly, a lot more tailored than it was in Distant Worlds 1 to try to make sure that that works out well. And the story is, there's a lot more to this than the Distant Worlds 1 Return of the Shakturi, I will say that. It's a much bigger effort than the Distant Worlds 1. Alright, so here we go. We are getting close with our exploration ship. here we go. You know the gravitic stabilization is in this area, so now we've gotten a new message. The space around this gravitic rift is a maelstrom of powerful and mysterious energy readings. The rift appears to be growing, which is troubling enough, but also shifting. And I should note the final rift graphic is not in yet, so I'd like to show you guys something a little more impressive. But for now, we just got some of the background effects going. But for the release, there is going to be an actual, more prominent rift here. The rift appears to be growing, which is troubling enough, but also shifting as though transforming into something entirely new. This is a phenomenon unlike anything we've previously encountered. Understanding the nature of these rifts and their unusual energy would consume a significant portion of our scientific resources. But can we afford to ignore this phenomenon? While much of the history of our galaxy has been lost, we have recovered enough information about the past to know that responding to early signs of danger may well be vital for our survival. Hint, hint. We have found technology that has enabled research in paranormal studies, and we've found technology that enabled research in psychic energy detection. All right. So, folks, this is where I get to introduce you to one other thing here, and I'll put this guy back on automate now that he's triggered that. You'll notice some new tech trees here. Psychic tech, genetic engineering tech, and biowarfare. Of these so far, all we can see are these first two projects of the psychic tech tree. Okay? And right now, not particularly impressive, right? We research one, we research the second, we get plus 5% psychic research from each. But what the event tells us is that it will help us understand what is this inexplicable energy that we found around the rift. So, in the interests of previewing the Shakturi, as soon as I get enough money, I will start researching that. And the other thing that's going on here is I have been researching these types of facilities to help with my empire's economy. So I've got the holographic network, which is going to help with colony development and happiness. On one of my planets, I've got the advanced metacomplex to help with, again, happiness, development, population growth, as well as general empire-wide plague curing, diplomacy, so forth. So I was working on these, then efficient hyperdrives, better engines, and some improved construction, as Lectarians do. But we will get some money now, and I think we will start a look at paranormal studies. Is the hive tweaked? So the hive, it's an interesting question. I will say this about the hive, and again, I don't want to spoil too much, but if you've followed the hive story, then you already understand that in Distant Worlds 2, the hive were effectively created during the ancient war by the Shakturi. That the Shakturi in the ancient war took over one of the ancient Gazurian empires by dominating the hive queen that was at the center of that entire empire. And through that, they effectively controlled the Gazurians. But when the Shakturi were defeated and banished from the galaxy through whatever means that happened, that suddenly broke their connection with that hive queen, and that hive queen was effectively left in a vegetative state. And a lot of the Gazurians that were still connected through the hive mind with her basically went completely, absolutely nuts when that happened, and that effectively created the hive. So there is a very direct relationship between the hive existing. Oh, and that's a tomb that we found. A ruined ancient guardian vault. Okay. The hive effectively is directly caused by the Shakturi, and in a lot of ways directly related to the Shakturi. So I will say that in doing the Shakturi arrival, we've also taken another look at the hive arrival, and we've also looked at how the hive and the Shakturi should interact with each other. And I should probably leave it there, but yes, we've done some more work on the hive and their arrival and how they interact with the Shakturi. So for the rest, I think you'll have to see a bit more when I do the full live stream on the release date. And let me note, for those of you who have been patiently watching so far, that there will be an announcement later this week that will put up an official product page for Return of the Shakturi and give the exact date of the release, which will be later this year. but keep an eye out later this week for the announcement that reveals the exact release date. And when that release date comes, that week of the release, probably on the day of the release, I'll be live streaming again, and then everything will be final in its final state, and I will be trying to basically show everything for anyone who's interested. So at that point I can talk more about some of these things. I'll speed things up just a tad so we can go in and start this research. So we can start the paranormal studies now. So I don't know, should we complete our holographic network and improve our economy, or should we go right to paranormal studies? Do you all have any opinion on that whatsoever? For now, I'll move paranormal studies up to second in line, but if you all feel a sense of urgency, then we can even do that first. As far as the fleets go, what I was doing here, came back to this, so the Filthy Beskara, they did establish an outpost here, so I'm going to go ahead and set my fleet's attack point to there for that fleet. And, oh interesting, orbital bombardment. Well, that's not good for the Tikan Industries. Their capital is getting bombarded. And I think we'll take the second fleet and we'll set their initial attack point over to here to try to clear out some of these pesky Beskara if they should declare war on me again, which they have been repeatedly. And then we can do the same type of thing here with the fourth invasion fleet. Oh, and this one needs, right, we used up all our troops in the last war, so this one needs time to refresh and regenerate. So we're going to go ahead and set that one's attack point to this. Should we start with the big one? We'll maybe start with the smaller one. Alright, more ruined vaults. It's a shame. So much knowledge lost over time. You can see I've also got pretty good sensor coverage. One of the other things we did as part of the Shakturi war work is we finally implemented what we had been planning for a long time, which is if you take a look at monitoring stations, you now see they have a plus 100% scanner range. So if you put and long-range scanner distances have increased a bit more in general. So if you put a long-range scanner, in this case long-range sensor array, on this monitoring station, then you have a 200 million scan range. And so you can see I've got pretty good sensor coverage, which allows me to really see what's going on and get plenty of early warning when fleets are coming my way. That has been very helpful in the wars that I've been fighting. I would advise to anyone, if you're getting in a war, make sure that you research scanner tech. This is the one that I'm up to, but there are more. But you want to at least get to here. If you're having any wars, at least get to here and build some monitoring stations to double that range, to give yourself some warning so your defense fleets, your invasion fleets, everything can respond as needed on a timely basis. One of the things with Distant Worlds 2 is it is a game of a lot of planning and preparation. And so having things in place and ready, having plans in place and ready, and having enough time to respond, which comes down to a whole bunch of different things. I mean, obviously your hyperspace speed matters. You know, your fuel range matters, your stockpiles of fuel and where they are matter, and the warning that you get when it comes to notifications about incoming fleets and the chance to actually identify what those fleets are, what their missions are, and where they're going. All that is crucial to being able to actually respond. And again, with the fleet logic improvements we've continued to make, your fleets do respond quite well in my experience now. Quite a bit better when it comes to these situations, especially if they have enough warning. Alright, so we've completed the holographic network. So let's take a look at our existing colonies here. We've got Ural on here. We could put it there once we get enough money. That would give us plus 5% development and plus 10% happiness, and that's nice. That's definitely one option. But Uralon is already at 144% development, which is almost hitting the point of diminishing returns. We also have Tython here, if we can sort these by revenue. Tython's currently actually generating more revenue for us. It's just currently also losing a bit more. So what we can do is we could build it on Tython, and that will increase its development and make it a revenue center, profit center for us, probably equal to our home world. So that's most likely what we'll do with that. Besides, Tython's kind of cool, being in a storm and all. And then we have our paranormal studies research progressing here. So let me just... Yes, iCorp confirmed. Babylon 5 fan, I see. I can neither confirm nor deny the presence of Psycor, and certainly we don't have a Babylon 5 license, so there's nothing from Babylon 5 in the game, but I appreciate your reference. Alright, so this is a shock. The Beskara have declared war on us, as they have 4 times before. So I'm going to slow things down here, and I'll be able to show you another new feature here, which you haven't seen before. So we now have war missions. Oh, and there's one important thing I need to mention. I was hoping to preview it today, but it's going to take another week or two to finish. We have embarked on an overhaul of the notification system. One of the things, and that goes along with continuing performance improvements, so one of the things obviously about Return of the Shakturi is that it is an endgame crisis. So it requires you to play in the late part of the game. And one of the things that happens as more and more things get done in our various expansions, more and more events happen, you get more and more messages going on in the late game. And especially when we threw the Shakturi in, creating effectively a galaxy-wide war between 2 big factions, the messages just went through the roof. So we're doing a complete overhaul. So when you see all the messages happening here, understand that this part is going to look very different in the final release. These messages are going to be organized and displayed in a very different way, and among those is the advisors. But for now, this is what you see. So you have an advisor suggestion. So our military strategists have analyzed the situation in the war against the Kuristar conformity, looking for tasks that have maximum impact against our enemy. They have the following suggestion. We have identified an enemy admiral that would prove invaluable if captured. You should find and capture Admiral Gudo Prugu of the Kuristar conformity. And if we complete this, we'll get plus 50k in our war score, we'll get a boost to our Empire happiness for 1 year, and we'll increase their war awareness by a little bit. So that would involve us having to defeat their 3rd fleet here, which is their biggest fleet. It doesn't seem super likely we could take that on, but if I choose to decline it, which I can, there's a policy where you can choose to either have war missions automatically assigned, have them not assigned at all, or have them be advisor suggestions like this. I'm going to decline that, and within a few months I should get another suggestion that might be better suited for me. And we're getting some messages here about what's going on. So we've got passenger ships under attack and so forth, as well as government changes elsewhere. So if we take a look now and we go over to our war targets, we can now take our pick of what we want to do here. So we have 2 planets in this system that I'd really love to do something about. And I'm going to go ahead actually and change my policy here to bombard to eliminate enemy troops. And I'm going to go ahead and queue clear defenses and bombardment. And I think over here is an outpost. I'm going to go ahead and cube bombardment of that too. And we have, oh, we may as well clear defenses as well. And we have our fleets here. Our invasion fleet we have not yet had a chance to rebuild our invasion fleet in terms of troops. We can get that started though. So let's see. I think Eurolon would be probably our best place to build up some troops. And some of these other... Some of our colonies in this general part of the world, part of the galaxy that is near the Beskara would be the best place, I think, to build some additional troops. I think maybe Trillar Yagin as well. The good old admiral that we were supposed to take out. That's a huge Beskar station there. So that's a first blow for them. They've destroyed 2 of our bases so far. We were skirmishing there, and we're now told that they're traveling towards Tanab. Alright, so let's see. And here's our defense fleet. Our 3rd defense fleet is now responding to their move towards Tanab, since they have been detected. But that's still a very strong force. Wondering if I should throw one of our attack fleets in there too. We've got our attack fleet. You notice that we queued things here, so we've got the 8th fleet queued to bombard, the strike force clearing defenses, the 2nd fleet queued to clear defenses, and it's already on its way here. But I think that I'm going to cancel that, and instead I'm going to tell the 2nd fleet to go attack the 3rd fleet. So I can do that manually. I can also queue it. So I've told it to go after the 3rd fleet because I think we're going to need help here, and our defense fleet's still going to need some time to arrive. So for a little while, Tanab is on its own. Meanwhile, our research on the rifts continues. So we have a weapons platform here that has launched its 30 fighters and bombers. We have a world here that has both planetary missile defenses and planetary fighter bases. You can see all of our fighters and bombers launching in the world. You can see missiles are launching in the world. Defenses are intercepting torpedoes. You can see fighters blowing up into space here. Infects of particles that should cause that particular thing to no longer exist. This to me are, yeah, they are bombarding units. You can see they're taking out the damaging our facilities and trying to take out things. So they are preparing our world for invasion. This is an AI control for those vehicles. This is an AI control fleet. Bombarding our planet to soften it up for invasion. Alright, here comes the first of our defense fleet arriving. Massive fleet got rid of our troops, so they have stopped now because they considered that they had done their job. Sent a bunch more torpedoes into our defense station, and then they left. So they consider the world softened up. Obviously for us, that's not a good thing. These are going to get gradually repaired, but we now need to be on guard for an invasion to follow up with that. They have a defense fleet moving that way. Okay, so our research breakthrough in paranormal studies has led to a curious discovery. We have completed our preliminary research into the expanding gravitic rift. We have not yet discovered the source of the expansion, nor determined the full danger they represent, but we have learned that the mysterious energy has psychic properties. This is a worrying discovery. Continuing to investigate the rifts will consume much of our scientific resources, but we may have an opportunity to learn how to suppress the energy and stabilize these rifts. So, do we continue our research into the psychic side and try to see if we can stabilize the rifts, or do we roll the dice and see what happens, because we've got other priorities during a war against the Beskara? Does anyone have an opinion on that? If not, I will make my own decision. And I'm going to go ahead and re-queue this for some action on that planet. And what's going on over here? Nothing much going on over there. But over here, third fleet is our invasion that we had. Again, our fighters, our bombers have been very well. Seen Distant Worlds too much before, you have control over your ship and base designs if you would so choose. These are automatically designed. This has velocity shard torpedoes, which are long-range torpedoes. It has impact assault blasters for close-in work, an ion pulse area weapon that can disable ships within an area, a tractor beam to either push ships out or pull them in depending on what range the base wants them to be in, ion cannon to also disable systems, and it has 3 different point defense beam systems, a bunch of different sensors, targeting and countermeasure systems, armor, shields, starfighter bays, and then all the internal stuff like fuel reactors. I'm afraid we're going to need a new invasion. Okay, and something else has happened. So we haven't actually finished our research to stabilize the rifts, and then we get this message. So, mysterious creatures unlike anything we've ever encountered have emerged from the expanding gravitic rifts. In a galaxy filled with varied and surprising life forms, these things are truly alien. They are not only dangerous, destroying everything in their path, but they also appear to act with an intention that suggests a purpose. We don't know what these creatures are or what their goals might be, but they must be stopped. Take me to the location of Rift Strider. Alright. So here are these things that are emerging from the rifts. So that's not good. And they're coming out, well, that's that rift here, but one can assume they're also going to be coming out right there, right near our Tython system. And indeed, look, we have all these sensor tracks of space creatures coming out of the rift there. So that's interesting. I guess maybe, since I haven't heard anything otherwise, we're going to go ahead and prioritize to see if we have a way of stabilizing the rifts. What do I need for that? 4,500 credits. So let's get 4,500 credits, and then we'll start that off. We have the 2nd Fleet and the 1st Defense Force moving in there, as well as the 11th Defense Force. So we have 3 fleets all deciding to converge on Kurbus because it's under attack by their 3rd Fleet. I hope those of you who like to play with sort of guided automation can see what I'm talking about when I say that we have improved how the fleets respond in these cases. Alright, so here we go. Pretty significant fleet battle. This one actually has our flagship in it. Beskara look to be moving away. Looks like they're focusing on engaging on this side now. Oh, and we got another message. Creature migration pattern shifting. We are receiving troubling reports from various of our ships and those of other empires. The typical movement patterns of the Gravitic and Artilus creatures, and these are space creatures that already exist in the galaxy, appear to have changed. These creatures typically migrate in ways peculiar to their own interests. Such patterns have always appeared to us as random. Now these space creatures behave as though drawn to systems with colonies or other assets vital to our empire. We do not know what has prompted these changes or if this behavior will continue. For now, all we can do is observe and take precautions. So we're now seeing the existing space creatures with hyperspace capability, the Gravilex and Artilus, also starting to move non-randomly and starting to move towards our systems. So not welcome news. So this is a destroyer of ours. It has, again, 2-point defense beams, impact assault blasters, shockwave torpedoes, and medium starfighter bays. I was actually fighting the Hive during the previous war, so I've gone fairly heavy on the point defense, because boy, it does help against the Hive. Take a look here. Right now, the Scar destroyed 2 of our bases, 10 of our military ships, 1 other type of ship, and 2 troops. We've done about half of the same to them, but I have a feeling this battle will work out in our favor. It's converging all our fleets on them sailing into the middle of our space and giving us a chance to respond with all our fleets ships as well. The only question here is, what part do you watch? There's so much going on here. Slow it down even further, though. We've got our spaceport defending itself. We've got the defense platform next to our spaceport. We've got another defense platform over here. We've got our flagship. Oh, this isn't a flagship. This is just one of our destroyers. So this is our flagship too. So we've got fighters and bombers attacking and disabling this particular destroyer of the Scar. Oh, and that came with an atomic devastator, so they actually had bombardment weapons, dedicated bombardment weapons on these ships too, to go around and try to mess up my pilots as quickly as they could. This one's jumping away, and it looks like here we got a major victory. So we now are at 27 ships destroyed of theirs to 10 of ours, so we significantly kicked their butts here. And we are no longer losing this war. Though I would say it's still basically a tie, but we have definitely done a major setback. Yeah, we're just mopping up now, so that was a win for us. And then down over here, we have a nice strike force as we had asked them to do. They are clearing the defenses around the Kina, or at least they're trying to. Let's see if they succeed. Looks like they have ships that are either damaged or under construction. So that was part of their invasion of space and troop transport. Oh, and we've got a freighter over here that it says is under attack by a Rift Strider. Let's see if the freighter escapes in time. It's trying to jump. Oh boy. I think the only thing left intact on that thing is its hyperdrive. 2 Rift Striders. The freighter managed to get away, so that was lucky for us. We've got the invasion fleet going to capture here. One of the other things you'll notice now is that the eye fleets will also go about capturing things, as well as raiding them. So all that is in play. We wanted to make sure that when it came to this sort of end game, late game scenario, that we gave the AI of the empires as much of an upgrade as we could during wartime. So you'll see fleets doing much more intelligent things. And here we have our fleet starting to bombard with torpedoes. Some space debris still floating around here. So we're trying to focus on eliminating the enemy troops here, which will enable us, once we've actually rebuilt an invasion fleet, to actually invade. Okay, another message has appeared. It cannot be a coincidence. After the appearance of the Rift Strider creatures in the JC-28 system, the inhabitants of Agdara were struck with a strange plague. The plague appears to affect the victims' brains in ways our doctors cannot understand. Some suffer massive neurological failure and die, but most survive and are altered. The victims appear to lose inhibition and judgment. They behave almost as if intoxicated, disregarding danger and propriety. Worse, many appear to pursue a common purpose. There have been acts of sabotage and military defections. The plague appears to be designed to weaken its victims. The plague is spreading rapidly, and conventional therapies have proven to be completely ineffective. Finding a cure must be our highest priority. But there may be more at stake. If we can understand the nature of the disease and how it was delivered, perhaps we can guard against future assaults. Our scientists say they would like as many samples of Rift Strider remains as possible for their studies. And it's unlocked a new area of research. And we see there are Rift Striders in orbit around it. And the spaceport we previously had there appears to be gone. The Rift Striders are definitely doing things to our planet here, which I'm not happy about. So we have the Shakturi psionic virus affecting this planet, and you can see we're now losing 11% of our population per year. Our colony happiness is also at -5, and this is a very difficult plague to cure. So the good news is we're working on biological workshops, but let's take a look at what else they said. So here's another one of the new, beginning one of the new research trees, which is the Biowarfare tree, which starts with xenobiological studies. But we need 50 Rift Strider brain plasma to begin this research project, so we're going to need to defeat some of these creatures. So that's also on our plate, as well as this war going on. And while we're doing this, let me talk about a few more things that have to do with the Shakturi and saving your galaxy from this ruthless alien menace. One of the twists that comes along with the return of the Shakturi expansion, and the Shakturi themselves used this initially, is the Shakturi arrive as a space-based faction, meaning they don't begin with worlds, though as you'll probably see in this live stream. They pretty quickly acquire some. And we're also making that possible for players. If you want to begin with a space-based start where you have no colonies and you just want to, have some ships and the colony ship and go find a place to begin your empire, you'll be able to do that. And then once you've colonized, then you change your government to a non-space-based type of government. We also have these 3 new research trees: genetic engineering, biowarfare, and psychic systems, which the Shakturi have already largely mastered, and which you use as time goes on to learn how to counter the Shakturi. And a significant part of playing the Return of the Shakturi this time around versus the original was just this big, strong alien faction arrives and starts blowing everything up and you have to beat them. This one, they come in with some unique advantages, and they're very alien and very different from anything you've fought before, and you need to figure out, how do you actually defeat them? How do you convince them that they have lost? How do you get them to leave the galaxy? And that's part of what you are trying to figure out through both these research projects as well as other events and wartime missions of various kinds. You're trying to figure all this out. So we're just watching our war unfold here while I'm watching in the background. One other thing, and I'll mention this now, but towards the end of the stream I'm going to show you one of the things about Return of the Shakturi as an expansion. This is exclusive to the expansion, is that we're adding planet destroyers and megaships for all factions, including the Shakturi, obviously. But now, if you're playing a different faction, You will also be able to build a planet destroyer, or in some cases a mega ship that isn't a planet destroyer. And that's something that'll carry over into your normal games as well. That's not something you'll only be able to do as part of the Shakturi story. We talked about the outposts. One thing we haven't talked about yet, but you'll see it later here, is under the diplomacy side, there's a new alliance button. And I'll show you about that when we get to that point. But that's also something that will be, it's exclusive to the Shakturi expansion, but it's not limited to the Shakturi story. So if you're playing with the Shakturi expansion, then from the beginning, you can actually, form alliances with other empires. If you're playing the Shakturi story, then that's effectively the point where empires get out of the Age of Shadows and figure out how to trust each other enough to actually ally again. So then the alliances begin once the Shakturi story unfolds. But in normal non-Shakturi story games, you'll be able to actually use the alliances from the start as well. And that's basically a step up from, so you have right now the ability to do defensive pacts. An alliance is a much tighter way of binding two factions together. It really is a very, very binding treaty that, as part of it, includes a lot of guaranteed agreements and a guaranteed, sharing of wars in all respects. And all that just takes your sort of where you can go with diplomacy up to a new level. Alright, so how are things at Quino now? We've bombarded all the troops away, but we're not making enough money to really progress this the way we should. So I think what I should do is I should try to trim our economy a bit here. We're obviously paying for too much. So we're paying for a lot of ship and base maintenance. Troop maintenance isn't really consuming much. Facility maintenance is consuming a fair amount. But really ships and bases are the main place where we can take advantage. And while we are in a war, I think perhaps we have overbuilt a few things. So let's just take a quick look here. Let's see. I think I'm comfortable with not having quite as many of these defense batteries, so I'll keep the one that guards. We need to save some money, so let's take a look at these, at trimming these off. Alright, each of these costs me 1,000 per year, so that's a start. And let's take a look at our spaceports. That's all good. We need basically... We probably don't need this one actually. It's a very nice spaceport, but 1669 credits per year. And it's basically in the Titan system because it was part of that discovery, but let's... Bye-bye. And the Yitnus spaceport, I think, also. Bye-bye. Trim our expenses there a bit. Let's take a look at our ships. What do we have that's not in the fleet? Yeah, I think let's get rid of our escorts. Again, I know we're in a war, but... but we need to be able to afford what we need to afford. Alright. So we certainly will be able to, that's trimmed our deficit at least in half. And we also will be able to afford to build a holographic network shortly now. which will allow us to boost our economy further. And we'll be able to build the biological workshop, and then we should be able to more properly fund this war, rebuild our invasion fleet, and fund the research we need to counter the Shakturi. And I just wanted to show you this because this is not that unusual a situation where, you know, you've been through multiple wars, you're going into the Shakturi arriving with a war going, and you need to figure out a way to balance things. Now, you can play in a more optimized way than I've played here, and end up with a more supercharged economy at this point. That is certainly possible, but I tried to give a view of how it might be for your average player, not necessarily someone who is playing to the absolute tip top of player skill that's out there, but someone who is playing, you know, reasonably well, but not with everything perfectly optimized. I don't think we need to bombard anything else there, but we can still clear out the troops here, especially before any of those suckers get picked up. Looks like one of them is getting ready to be picked up by one of the Beskara invasion fleets. I should also note that it's been, what, 3 months now since we released the game faction update, and we haven't been doing public betas because of the intensity of the work on Shakturi, but we are planning to return to doing some new public betas during September. By the end of September, we should be back on the wagon with some of the public beta updates, leading up to the official update that goes out along with the Shakturi release. So that's our fleet, making sure the defenses are clear there. We probably can redirect some of these fleets actually because our invasion fleet is not ready to re-invade. So, oh, you're offering me non-aggression? Sure, I will accept that. I think we definitely want to take out this monitoring station here. Let's probably take out a few of these mining stations that are near our borders, especially the ones that mine Kazlan. We could try to capture them too, but again, while our invasion fleet is rebuilding... Oh, that's a big one right there. What the heck, let's put all those on the list. And then we'll take these. We'll let the bombardment proceed, but we'll see if that frees up one of our attack fleets to go elsewhere. Yep, so now our attack fleet has requeued to attack this monitoring station, which was the first target I queued. Is this making sense to you all? You understanding how the new enemy target system works and how the fleets are being responsive to it? Let me know if you have any questions about that or any other new stuff I've showed. Tanker trying to get away. There's the Rift Strider. Okay, now we have a war mission to destroy an enemy research station, the Yitna station. And if we finish this, we'll get plus 25k war score, Empire happiness boost. We'll get some research progress also in these two techs, so I will accept that mission. So you see, once I accept the war mission, it shows up here. These war missions normally last about 4 years before they expire. If you don't do them, there's no penalty. They're offering to end our war now. No thank you. Or maybe I should. But I'd like to actually strike them a blow with a war mission before I do that. The psionic virus is striking them too. I'm guessing the Rift Striders must be over there now. Well, this doesn't look like a good matchup. Just watch this for a bit. sometimes it's nice to just go in and look around and see what's going on. Distant Worlds 2, there are always things going on. If you're not looking at it, it's still happening. So you can go by just reports and sort of outcomes summarized up above, or you can sometimes take a peek and go zoom into wherever you want to take a peek and watch what's happening. Here we have one of their destroyers. Normally a fighter destroyer will win. And let's see here. Bum, bum, bum. Yeah, change this to suggest. Change this to manual for now. And change this to manual as well. Should otherwise be fine. And I'm going to go back over here and we're going to do some of this research here. So let's research psychic energy detection, since we still haven't gathered enough Strider brain plasma to continue down that route. And then when we get to, what do we need here? 50,000 credits. It's going to take a little while. When we get to that point, then we will do the rest. Move this up to the top, put civilian ships after that. We can also queue some luxury resources, which will help with our colony development and our revenue. Don't want to really build these in other people's territory just yet. This one I need though. Just filtering to see where my opportunities for mining more Caslon are, which is the main fuel source. And if we take a look also here, our construction resources are all adequate, but luxury resources we can definitely use more. And that's reflected in the development of our colonies, which then translates directly to their revenue. Okay, capture an ambassador. We might actually take this on and see if we can get him to defect. I'll cover that in a second. Oh. I thought I had wiped you out. No, there's another hive carrier here that I missed, apparently. There's one more. And how far away from my territory is that? Oh, okay, that's why. It's way over there. I destroyed all the hive near me, but there are a few more hive left over there. Alright, so we know they're going to be attacking there. Nope, no time for gifts right now. Shakturi psionic virus striking everywhere. 7th invasion fleet is traveling towards our research facility. We do have a defense fleet there. 6,000 strength. This is not perfect analysis, but 2,400 strength, and they're moving to defend the research facility. They are a bit low on fuel. We will see how that goes. It's not gonna help for now, but they're looking a bit weak, so we'll top them up with a few more ships. That cost me money, but we gotta pay for things sometimes in order to do things. So what I was saying is I'm also gonna, I've got this mission to find and capture the ambassador Nerg Narret of the Cursed Dark Conformity. So I'm gonna take a spy. Let's see. Let's take our untested spy. And we'll do the curve star conformity. Try to get the ambassador to defect. Ambassador Nerdnard, 17% chance. Let's go try that and just give ourselves any real chance. He's xenophobic, sure. Great choice. Let's go have him try this too. You may have noticed, for those of you paying attention, that there's character defection and infect colony with plague. These are two new intelligence missions that you can now engage in. Obviously, to infect a place with plague, you need to have a plague to distribute, which comes from the Biowarfare tree. To try to get a character to come over to your side, either by force or by convincing. There's also a threat mission that you can endeavor to do that now, and that can help in a number of different ways. Going to lose it because the invasion fleet got too close. But we did have two defense forces eventually responding to that. Why are you in this particular fleet? You do not need to be in that fleet. Sure, we'll accept your restricted trade agreement. So we see the Rift Striders spreading, we see the Shakturi psionic virus spreading. So this may give you all the impression that in the background here, while we're distracted with these, momentous wars with the Beskara, that, oh, and the Hive has come back. So this didn't happen when I played this last time, but apparently this time the game has said, let's make it as challenging as possible for you. So they did take that over, which gave them another 18k to their war score, so they're catching up, normalizing it a bit. So let's see, we need to destroy, we have been assigned a mission to destroy a station. Let me unqueue these other mining stations here. And let me queue up this one, the Yitna station. It's got this little symbol here which tells me it's a war mission target. I'm going to go ahead and queue that, so when our guys are done with Ibruaske and Lumabo, then they can do that. And Vilmwani now has no more troops, so I'm going to cancel the bombardment there, and I'm going to cancel the clear defenses there as well. So that was what, 9th Strike Force? Go ahead and tell these guys to take a break. Alright, capture enemy refueling station, Ibruaske. We're already destroying that, so I'm going to skip that. Alright, a new resource. We've managed to destroy one of the alien rift creatures. A cursory examination of its corpse revealed, among other things, an orderly anatomical structure that suggests something artificial. Yet the creature is undeniably alive. Moreover, these creatures contain crystals that cannot be biological, at least as we understand the term, and show every sign of growing within and being interconnected with the creature's bodies. The crystal's energy signature is nearly identical to that of the mysterious rifts that have been appearing in our galaxy. If we are going to protect ourselves, we must understand more about the creature's nature and abilities. It is vital that our scientists commit to researching these remains as quickly as possible. If we can collect enough of the rift creature crystals, we should be able to progress our research and learn more about them. So that has unlocked the genetic tree for us. So let's go take a look at this now. So we now have genetic engineering, genetic mapping, and genetic investigations. We only see the beginnings of these trees right now. I can assure you there's more to it, but these are again things that allow us to, at this point, progress our understanding of what's going on and what's coming, and give us some boost to those particular areas of research. So that's good that we've managed to destroy some of these creatures. What do we have here? Oh, they're going through hyperspace. not. No, they're here. Oh, they're going to attack another... They're trying to capture another one of our stations, aren't they? Kazlan mining station. They want to end our war. I will still say no. So here we're attacking their mining station, their Kazlan mining station. Try to get in harm their distance near us. Okay, and I realize the chat froze again, so give me a sec while I try to catch up, because I just rebooted Twitch here on my device and suddenly there's a million more messages. Wow, it was not sending me pretty much any of your messages. Sorry, folks. So yes, we're playing an Akhdarian monarchy, still catching up with old chat messages here. Okay, our spaceport in town is under attack. And I want to say thanks to all of you who were saying hi. I just wasn't seeing it. Thank you for your good wishes. And yeah, Hybrid Spider, when you hear space-based, I imagine you're thinking pirates too, but no comment on that right now. Speaking of alliances, will separate peace remain the only option to end the war for now, or is there more coordination between allies planning the issues? If you're in an alliance, there's no separate peace. You're at war or at peace altogether. That is definitely one thing that happens with alliances. Yeah, I could definitely get some cash through diplomatic trades. Maybe I should try that. Next one will just show how to turn the economy around as well. Allies will sometimes join your attacks as well. It all depends on whether they have fleets nearby with range that aren't busy doing other stuff. But once you get into fighting the big Shakturi war, you will see a fair amount of that stuff going on as long as you've got nearby allies. Last DLC for Distant Worlds 2? No, this is not the last. This is not the last by any stretch. Does the AI have a war quest thing? You're talking about the war missions. So the answer is yes. The AI can also do war missions, and you will see from time to time that, and if a mission is completed, you'll see something under the war score here that shows mission score, and you can see that both for your own empire as well as for the AI empires showing up. Though I will say that we are also still working on the AI for that to make it better, but they are doing war missions right now. Alright, so where was I? I think that catches me up on a lot of the messages. So we've got a strike force attacking Yitna Station now, and is that, where is our strike force? Still over here, so it's planning to, but it's going to refuel first, and it's going a ways away to refuel. Alright. Because it is definitely needing fuel. This is the advantage sometimes to capturing. If you can capture a Kazlan station relatively close, then you can do a lot with it. Yeah, this is not good news that there's a relatively large hive fleet. I already destroyed one this big earlier in this game, before this stream began, but and I can definitely do it again, but I'd rather not have to divert my fleets from this war in order to do that, but I can if I need to. Our military strategists have analyzed the situation in our war, so they want us to destroy the advanced shipyard at Diokara. Where is that? It should be pinging it. Where is Diokara? main planets. Do I have that on my war targets list? I don't see it right now. You know what? We'll accept it. That, oh, it's an out. Oh, they put. That's okay. This would be a bug. I'm not sure how that happened, but that's not supposed to be possible. So I think that's a minor data bug, which we nonetheless could take advantage of, except for the fact that it's way the frig over there at the very fringe of their empire. But if I took like a small fleet and went over there and bombarded that, that would certainly fulfill this mission. I'm just not going to exploit it at this point. I'm going to log that as a little bug for us to still fix before the Shakturi release. Just for the record, it's an issue potentially if it was built there. It's possible. There's another ruin there. It's possible that this is something that was already there in a ruined state and they repaired it with their outpost, in which case it wouldn't be a bug, but it's still not very useful at an outpost location. Outposts, as you might imagine, are not good at construction. There's hardly anybody there. There's really a limited amount of stuff that they can do. But we've still got the plan to destroy the enemy research station. We've still got to capture their leader. And if we take a look here, they're still working on persuading him. We'll probably slightly change the words there, but I think you understand persuasion can take multiple forms. And I just want to get up to the Tikan would be happy to go there. I still just want to get up to 50,000 so that I can stick that holographic network on my second, actually I think it's at now point possibly my biggest planet, because that will help a lot. And they're getting ready to raid one of my planets. Well, that's fantastic. What do I have nearby that can help with that? They're off attacking. They're attacking. They're refueling. They're attacking per my instructions. And they're repairing. I think the only real choice we have is the 11th, and they're not going to be able to get there in time. I think Tanab is effectively on its own. This is going to hurt. No joke, this is going to hurt. Oh my gosh, and I did not have enough troops there. It's too late. Well, you're probably going to see a lot of Egdarians about to get eaten by the Hive. Yeah, ending the war will definitely help. I just wanted to show you guys a little bit more of the war missions, but perhaps I will go ahead and end the war, just so we can get on with doing more of the Shakturi part of it in earnest instead of the other improvements. The Shakturi virus, as it does, once it arrives in the galaxy, it spreads like wildfire. And you get a lot of worlds that have, here comes the Hive Fleet, you get a lot of worlds that suddenly have minus 11% growth. And to make a long story short there, it also makes your people more susceptible to Shakturi powers. So you definitely don't want that to be a long-term. Okay, when it comes to rated, we have a world that really is big enough that should be able to stop this, but not defend it well enough. This is going to hurt big time. Look at the number of people they're consuming. Yeah, they consumed about 2 billion Egdarians. It's just really bad that I let that happen. I always seem to have my worst disasters during the live streams. I guess that's the way of things. So the Hive has feasted now, and I think they will go on somewhere else to refuel, to grow, to come back. Yeah, here comes the defense fleet that responded, but it was too far away. Alright, they offered to end our war. Let's take a look at that option, but how close are we to actually completing a war mission here? So, Yitna Station is there. That's one of our stations that was previously captured in the prior war. And these guys are almost refueled. Alright. And nothing else particularly amazing is going on right now. So I think maybe we'll just wait for the Yitna station attack. My gosh, the Shakturi virus. This is one of the other things, by the way, that is going to be better in the revamped notification system is that we will not have these virus messages in the same way, because once that virus really starts spreading, boy, do you get a lot of notifications about that. But we've also saved up 50 grand, and we're finally into positive income, so I'm going to go ahead and build the holographic network here, and on our capital, I'm going to build the advanced meta complex. So we'll have those two facilities going, and that should also help turn our economy fully around. No, I think they were just refueling. Does have a little bit of shade there, but I don't see anything that would slow things down. Alright, let's see how this goes. Down so we can watch this and hopefully complete a war mission, and then we'll try to go ahead and end the war. So we've got a troop transport fleeing. Some more ships have decided we'll go ahead and engage that. See if they can do it before it escapes. You've got all kinds of fighters. This is one of my old research stations, so it has room for a lot of fighters. They've got all kinds of fighters attacking. Point defenses are helping take us out indeed. So now there's only my fighters left here. And we are now starting to attack this research station, which was built, looks like under the location of one of the ancient vaults. So it provides a bonus of all research and ancient knowledge, but we can't let the Beskara have that, can we? Oh, there's a Rift Strider here. Oh boy. We've said that's gonna change things. Dang it. Oh, this is almost destroyed. There we go. We've completed destruction of that. We've got a Rift Strider to fight as well. Oh, and the mission expired right before. Dang it. Alright, well, my luck here on my screen has been a little bit iffy so far, but the mission expired right before we blew it up, as far as I can see here, so that did not work out in our favor. We took too long. I should have been a little bit more focused and expeditious on that. We could capture this, but I think we'll go ahead. We'll see if we can finish up the war now and try to progress what's going on with the Shakturi. How close are these guys? Both our agents were captured, it looks like, so that didn't work out. So I'm sorry, guys. What happens if you complete the war mission is you get the rewards. You'll see them show up on the top and over here, and maybe we'll get another chance to do that a bit later, because the likelihood is there will be another war. So let's go ahead and talk with the Kurstar conformity now. So they have one of our spies. They have one of our bases. We have two of their admirals. We want peace, and they will already accept this deal. We don't even need to give their admiral. We don't need to give both of their admirals back. We can just give one admiral back. We don't really want to give them anything else, so let's just do that. The benefits of winning. So that will also, as the war awareness declines, that will also help us set up our economy. But I think we will also be able to, if we can rebuild our invasion fleet here, we will be able to strike them a significant blow. I think we can take this entire system back, which they took from us once before. Okay, but oops, something just happened. Unknown aliens. We are receiving alarming reports from the vicinity of the Gravitic rifts. Ships are emerging. They are of a strange design, like nothing we've seen before, and yet there is something about their appearance that resonates with our people. It is eerie and inexplicably familiar. Anything approaching the ships has been destroyed, and we have received garbled reports of strange energies affecting anyone attacked. These ships appear to be drawn toward a particular destination, perhaps at the galactic rim. Their goals remain mysterious, and we have had no direct confirmation of their identity, yet we cannot help but fear the worst. Well, that's not good. An emerging power. We have encountered the aliens from the rift, and they are unlike anything we've ever seen or imagined. They are strange, unfathomable, unnerving. Our crews report feeling uneasy simply from being in proximity to these ships. They experience thoughts, see images, experience emotions that are not their own. They are alien. They see flashes of the past, of ancient space battles and planetary destruction. And in spite of how alien and unfamiliar the aliens seem, there's something recognizable about them. It is as though they are dislodging dim memories locked away in our genetic code. So we have found technology that has enabled more full research in psychic, genetic, and biowarfare. So if we take a look now, we can now see, I'm going to give you guys, before I continue, a little bit of a tour of this. So we can now see some more of the trees here. So this is the psychic tree, and you can see it starts off with these two, and then we get to psychic energy manipulation, where you can build a psychic academy. And we get up to psychic disruption, where you're improving your psychic defense. And I'll tell you right now, every faction in the game now has a rating for their psychic susceptibility, shall we say, their innate psychic defense, and then what you can do in the Shakturi have the ability to do psychically offensive things. And what you can do is you can improve your defenses against them, but when they first appear, no one really has any idea how to fight psychic stuff, so you have to progress yourself to be able to figure that out. I've mentioned briefly that after the Shakturi, the next DLC will be Atuk and Wekarus in our roadmap. I will just say the Atuk have a unique advantage in that they're kind of a psychic null zone, so ironically they'll be one of the harder ones for the Shakturi to deal with psychically, but no one else really has that advantage. And some of the factions, like the Hive Minds, are more susceptible than others. So you'll see here we have Mind Shields, which gives psychic counter-espionage. So you can probably conclude from that that the Shakturi can get benefits to various intelligence missions through psychic means, and this is how to help counter those benefits. We have psychic counter-diplomacy, and again, I think that can give you an idea of the fact that the Shakturi have a sort of psychically enhanced diplomatic capabilities. And you have psychic shields. Now you'll notice this is a ship component, which provides psychic countermeasures and psychic defense. So make of that what you will. And then at the end we have Psychic Disruption Mastery for one additional boost to psychic defense. And then if we take a look at the genetic engineering tree, which is also new, again we start with these two projects that just gives you some advantage to genetic research. Then you can build a Genetic Studies Academy. And that brings you to your first planetary species enhancements, which start out by giving you repeatable improvements to your crew systems and also bonuses to population growth and troop recovery rate. Okay, and then that expands out to where you can enhance your troops. Improve ground attack strength, ground defense strength, troop recovery rate, troop maintenance savings, self-sufficient troops, and finally super soldiers at the end. You can further enhance your crew, and that enhances, again, your crew capacity on all these types of modules, as well as your boarding assault strength, effectively genetically enhancing your people to be able to naturally live in space, in the end maybe without even needing much in the way of spacesuits. Enhanced leaders. Each of these gives you boosts to the quality of your various characters. And enhanced population, which improves your population growth, improves your militia defense strength for when the militia spawns. And let's take a look at biowarfare. So you've got xenobiological studies, again leading to a biowarfare complex that gives you plague curing and biowarfare research. And you then get two branches. We'll start with plague curing. So that again can improve population growth and give you a plague curing. Plague curing basically, there's a default chance that you can cure a virus over time when it hits your population. And obviously there are certain facilities in medical research, in the medical research subtree, that can improve that. This gives you additional benefits to really deal with biowarfare type things like the Shakturi psionic virus, which is a very difficult virus to cure. So you've got 4 different versions of the Shakturi psionic virus that you can cure here. That probably tells you that the Shakturi aren't done showing you their tricks when that virus is concerned. And then you have plague curing for the different viruses here. These ones you're already familiar with, probably Hekretos, Dekaro, genetic scrambling, and Merturov, ranging from the weakest to the strongest. And for these, you're basically researching plague curing, but you can also, for these, figure out how to deploy them. So if you wanted to, say, use these against your enemies, or use these against, say, the Shakturi, then this would be something else that you could do with the Biowarfare tree. And there's another part of the Biowarfare tree that is currently hidden, which I will not spoil now, but you could find out for yourselves when you play the Shakturi. Okay, so that's a little bit of a tour. Let me refresh this again, because Twitch periodically freezes the chat for me, and just see if there are any questions before I continue. I'll read this message while it happens. An emerging power, our greatest fears have been realized. The great enemy that once just nearly destroyed all life in the galaxy has returned. We once more face the Shakturi. Everything we have achieved since returning to the stars is now in peril. Our existence itself is in peril. Nevertheless, we are not helpless. The arrival of the Shakturi and the unique events that have preceded that arrival have now fully opened new avenues of research and discovery. There are now additional new projects for scientists to undertake. The Shakturi incursion has opened the possibility of further study into paranormal, genetic, and bioengineering warfare techniques, which the enemy used against our ancestors in the ancient war and clearly still employs. In the war to come, we must learn to use this knowledge ourselves to survive this new enemy. Only by conducting this advanced research can we hope to eventually defeat the Shakturi. And this is one of the basic aspects here, is that when the Shakturi first emerge, they're in one sense weak, right? They're Rift refugees, but they are in another sense very strong. It is not a level playing field between you and them at that initial stage. And when you want to fight against them, it's not going to be a one-on-one fight. What you have is this race to level the playing field, while the Shakturi proceed to try to do what the Shakturi do, and I don't know if we'll get far enough to show you much of that, but to give you a little bit of a, okay, so this confirms also that the creature migration pattern shift is caused by the Shakturi. Our research into genetic engineering has given us new insights into understanding how they create and control rift striders. With the emergence of the Shakturi from the rifts, we've also been able to shed some light on a mystery that has until now confounded our scientists. Some time ago, we observed a shift in the migration patterns of Gravitic and Artilus, in which they appeared to be drawn to systems with colonies and other valuable assets. We are now certain that this is not a natural occurrence. It seems that the Shakturi are capable not only of controlling their own creations, but also influencing creatures native to our galaxy. They are driving the Gravitic and Artilus toward our systems, effectively weaponizing them against us. We must continue with our research in this area if we are to discover the means of countering Shakturi influence over these space creatures. And in fact, what you will see is that over here you now have interstellar biological studies, and over here we have Vortigar, Artilus, Gravilex, and Rift Strider studies, each of which give you counter-influence against these creatures. The Shakturi actually can get to the point where they can manufacture these Rift Striders within the galaxy and send them at you in increasing numbers, as well as their own ships. And I see a request, can you see the Shakturi? Yeah, you can. I'll show them to you in just a little bit, but we can start with this. So, this is the Shakturi fleet. They are showing up right now as the Rift refugees. So if we go over here, we can talk to the Shakturi. So here's the Dark Lord, Zentok Risinda, who says, "You come to speak with us, enemy." So that's what a Shakturi looks like. And give you that first look there. And let's see what they're doing here. They're moving from the rifts across that part of the galaxy pretty quickly. So I'm guessing that's the fleet that came out of our rift here. So if I go look at our rift over here, are there still any of their ships around it? Let's see. I see a few. I see some Shakturi freighters here, actually, and an exploration ship. Construction ships, so they have some utility ships that they left behind. Oh, and what's this? This looks like a Shakturi ship that is not active, that is sitting there. This looks to be a Shakturi battleship. The Worthy Annihilation. Reactor offline, hyperdrive offline, so it looks like something happened to that one. The Shakturi miner. A Rift Strider. A dead Rift Strider over there left behind at the rift. They seem to have some ships staying here and mining and doing things like that. So it looks like their main fleet has left, but they've got some ships remaining behind. And we'll take a closer look at them in a bit. They're just boogieing their way across the galaxy here. Let's see where they go. Keep in mind, we've still got a war going on too. Oh, no we don't. Never mind. We ended that. But we do have a hive attack going on here. Okay, that's at the fringes. Okay, we are receiving reports that a ship from the Shakturi fleet has been abandoned. It must have suffered a malfunction. Investigating this ship might yield vital information. This is the one we were just looking at, so now we have confirmed that. But there are Rift Striders there. That's not going to be the easiest place to investigate. But I'll give you another look at it. Those are the Shakturi. So I expect that one of our exploration ships will, of its own volition, end up deciding to go over there. But I'll key that up as well. But this is a dangerous location, so it's not going to be easy to get somebody over there. We could take one of our fleets and clear that. And perhaps we should. You hope more ships have writings on their hulls. The Shakturi do seem to have these sort of interesting, glowing, sometimes runes on their hulls. Who knows what that's about? I guess you'll have to kind of draw your own conclusions as you figure out more about them. But that is, I definitely saw what you're talking about there. Aha, so this is interesting. Maybe they're heading... our research in psychic energy detection has led to a curious discovery. Okay, so we did not do that soon enough. I think we need to switch over to doing some of these other things. So, what do you think? Genetic mapping or xenobiological studies? Which one should we start with next? We've learned more about the psychics, but not enough to stop the rifts from opening. So, should we go down to the genetic tree or the xenobiological tree? Try to focus on curing these Shakturi psionic viruses, or try to focus on understanding... I mean, both of them provide some understanding of the Rift Striders, but the genetic side gives more of a creature-focused. Xenobiology, biological studies. Okay, 2 votes for biological studies, so let's start with that. So 50 Strider brain plasma, and off we go. So we will begin that. Oops, let me bump that up to the top. So that's our first priority here. The Shakturi are almost outside of our... You see over here, they're now unknown ships. Here we still know they're Shakturi, but they're off. So they're leaving our known detectable part of the galaxy. So we will have to see what else we learn about them. I expect we will see more of them soon. Yeah, we slowed the destabilization, but not soon enough. So this one's trying to explore, but there are Rift Striders all over the place. We got Rift Striders like crazy everywhere we go now. And virus is spreading. And how are things going with dangerous locations? So we've got Rift Striders there. Let's see if we can clear that. Rift Striders there. We've got incredible numbers of Rift Striders. Let's get our fleet. Let's try Kerbis actually first. Oh. Not sure what's happened there. Oh, it left Kerbis, I think. It was in the middle of a refresh. So we'll queue all these up, and hopefully our 8th and 2nd fleets will deal with those. So the 2nd fleet is moving over there, the 8th fleet is moving over there. So hopefully they will be able to do that. Time to get the Shakturi C-19. Well, you know, it's kind of funny in a tragic way that we were already thinking about I mean, because it goes back to the original The Return of the Shakturi in Distant Worlds 1. You know, that you had the Zeractor virus and all that. So we were already thinking about Biowarfare being a major part of Return of the Shakturi, but 2020 brought it a little bit too close to home. A little bit too realistic. So I'm glad it's at least not something we're releasing in 2020. Let's say that. Alright, so what you can also see, by the way, just to hop back to something else, is that we built the holographic network here, we built our advanced metacomplex here, and this is already helping us, by the way. This is giving us empire-wide plus 30% plague curing, so our situation would be significantly worse in terms of the viruses if not for that. But this has also bumped up our revenue so that we're now predictably at plus 9,300 from starting out this game in the negatives. Excuse me. And we're seeing a lot of messages about the Shakturi virus hitting others around us, but we're not getting too badly hit right now ourselves, which is good, because we do have Rift Striders all around us. Here we're being hit. Akdara, minus 11% population growth, and I don't know if you remember, but I think our population there is now significantly lower than it was before the Shakturi Rift Striders showed up. Our outpost has it as well. Okay, we are receiving reports that the Shakturi fleet has reached its destination at the Galactic Rim. Long-range sensors indicate that there is a mysterious beacon, previously undetectable, that may have drawn them to their location. The ships appear to be engaged in some sort of massive construction project. We cannot know what they are building, but it does not bode well for peace in our galaxy. Take me to Dumbraden. So, oh look, there's now a Shakturi outpost here. This gives you a little description of what an outpost is too. So this, as far as we can tell, is where they ended up. I guess the good news is it's far away from us. But I would say that's not fantastic news for the Free Tekin Guilds or the Quamino Academy, for sure. And the Quamino Academy might be people who we could get along with. And we were talking about how we would love to actually get some more money from trade. Well, let's see if we can butter these guys up first. Let's be generous with them. And since they look like they're going to bear some of the brunt of the Shakturi, let's give them an advanced survey module and some improved defensive bases. What do you think of that, Quamino? Very good. They agreed to have non-aggression with us. Would the Tekans have anything to trade? They would. They have several things to trade, actually. So, what do we have that they really, really want? Well, they want our improved water colonization for sure. They have planetary administration complexes. I think we want those, but we'd have to give them pretty much everything we have for that. Or including our ultra-efficient engines. I'm not sure I want to give that up. Advanced medical systems. That would be an easy get. Maybe let's just do that, and then let's give them something they really want, like this. And then that'll hopefully make them happier, and then see if they're open to anything else. Nope, not yet. Still no defense pact. And let's take a look at the Free Tekin Guilds while we're here. Well, maybe let's just see about ice colonization for water colonization. And that's a deal in their favor. So now they're willing to do, let's do galaxy map sharing, sure. Give us a lot more knowledge. Got the Brachios Dominion. Go ahead and deal with them. Actually, is there anything else? No, not yet. The Itun territory. Any expansions into the outpost feature? All kinds of things are possible in the future. So I wouldn't say no if we come up with something that we really want to do with that, sure. Xenox Technocracy Itun territory. How strong are these guys? 11 colonies, 12 colonies. As far as we know of. Let's maybe, they're way over there. Itun territory is closer. They're right on the other side of the Great Dagru Horde, which hasn't been at war with us before. So maybe let's give these guys something big. See if we can make them very happy. Let's give them planetary missile defenses. Oh, they're really going to like that. But they're still not liking it enough to do more treaties with us. But we've made them happy for sure. Oh, and I almost forgot. We wanted to see if we could get some money. Let's see if maybe the Xenox will be willing to give us money. Nope. What about one of the Teekans? Going back to the ones who like us. Would you be willing to give us money? No, you're not interested in giving us money. Is anyone interested in giving us money? You're interested in giving us your galaxy map. Nope, not at this time. So we will have to try that again at a later time. And I'll keep... That's a 9,000 Rift Striders over there. That's a lot of Rift Striders. I'm going to speed things up just a little bit here since we're not at war. I don't like to play things too fast personally because I feel that you can miss a lot, but I'll speed things up a little bit just so we can get through more of the Biowarfare here. Just be prepared for a lot of messages. Lots of troop transport. Let's actually take a look at this invasion fleet and let's top them up and tell them, yeah, well, you can repair first, but then I want you loading troops. Yeah, I mean, in the early, very, very early game, 4x speed, 8x speed can be viable things, but as soon as you actually get into the game proper, I find that I like to just play at normal speed. So here's where I think that some of our battles against the Rift Striders are happening. If I can... or happened. Looks like our battles there have just finished. Alright, I'm going to queue up a bunch more troops to... oh, we definitely need some armor there too. Yeah. Let's queue up some armor. We had a lot more troops for our invasion fleets to pick up. And it looks like we're almost done with the first Biowarfare project here. Queue up some more research stations. Research is not that strong yet. Alright, our research breakthrough. The Rift Striders are fascinating and mysterious creatures. There's much to be learned by studying them, but our team has been focused specifically on the link between the creatures and the plague they appear to spread. Indeed, within the creature's brain plasma, they have found the virus that is now afflicting worlds in our galaxy. The virus does not appear to harm the creatures, rather they seem designed to spread it to the populations they encounter. That means we must reevaluate our understanding of what these creatures are and the threat they posed. They are not merely navigational hazards for our ships, they are weapons, and they threaten sentient life wherever they encounter it. We must now work to understand the mechanism through which they spread their plague. Since there is no physical contact between the creatures and their victims, we believe the plague is psychic in nature. While the nature and mechanics of the psionic plague is utterly alien, we are confident that with the investment of more resources, we will be able to find a cure. Alright, the plague continues to spread, so we can continue on with xenobiological investigations. Since you guys said biology, then that's what we will do. Yeah, one of the things that we will do with the notification improvement is get a handle on all these virus messages and make it easier to understand. I also haven't really researched any of the research facilities here yet, which would also give me a pretty big boost to research, but we'll get to that maybe in the next stream here. I guess I'm technically over my time, but I'm happy to keep going. Let's let you guys see a bit more if you are up for that. So Zeta Pasolos Usil. Alright, so the good news is that we've cleared out a lot of Rift Striders, but the bad news is that we've got some pretty big ones still. Deathanoni is a very big one. It's the strength of our fleet here. They can handle that. They can handle that. And that'll get us more of those nice resources. Let's just take a quick look here. Can we take a look at this? So we have 302 Rift Strider brain plasma. Which is a bright pink color and is slightly luminous. And we have 9,000, Rift crystals, also growing as part of the exoskeleton of the Rift Striders. So we have a fair number accumulated, definitely more crystals than brain plasma, but we have a pretty good amount of Rift Striders that we have culled to get that. Second fleet is going to go head off to there. Now that we have money, of course our advisors want us to build many things, but I think what we will do instead is we'll invest this into crashing our biology research, but we need to get 124,000 credits for that. I think I'm going to let things accumulate in the hopes that we can speed up our investigations into what the heck the Shakturi are doing. Meanwhile, over here, we see... Yeah, they exist as the Rift refugees. They're seeing, as far as we know, there are 258 million of them. Now it says they have 3 known colonies. So we've got, looks like, there are some of them here in the Kwamino territory. There's some of them here at Ethur. And where is the third one? Dumbraden. So the Shakturi had set themselves up in these 3 systems. So if we have a problem with them, we can expect it will come from this direction, and the Tikans and the Kwamino will be the first to face the wrath of the Shakturi. Alright, we're at 102,000. How close is that? So we need 110,000 now. So we'll let it continue. Might be, if we take a look here, the Teekans have 20 colonies, 46, there are 47 billion Teekans, and they're researching at 434 as far as we know. That's their, I mean, we have 10 colonies, though we have 586 research, so we're doing a little better than in research, but they've definitely got way more population than us. I mean, we have 34 billion. They've got, oh, well, this is, hang on. This is the Teekan Industries. These are the guys north of us. No, it's the Free Teekan Guilds who are over there. Oh, there's 60. Oh, the Shakturi have chosen to pick a fight with a lot of Teekans on a lot of colonies with a lot of research. I think the Teekans here might be, yeah. So the Shakturi are next to the strongest empire in the galaxy. We're over here now. The Quamino are about our strength. They just haven't finished as much of their race victory conditions. So the Quamino are about our strength. They'll probably... The Quamino have been struggling because the Beskara have been fighting the Quamino as well as us. So they've been getting hammered the same way we have by frequent Beskara wars. But the Teekans have sort of had the freedom to expand like Teekans do over here. So I think the Shakturi will have their hands a bit full with the Teekans. One would hope. One would hope. I won't tell you what actually happens there, but that's what one would think at this point. Ancient Igdarian Research Base. Okay. We've got enough exploration to explore that. Alright, and now we should be able to crash this. Yes. Alright, there went our money. We're investing everything into a Manhattan project in xenobiology to see how that goes. But I hope you guys can see that compared to Distant Worlds 1, this is a whole different ball of wax with the Shakturi. So between the outposts and all the fleet orders and, you know, all the stuff that's going on with the story, between the new research trees, the genetic engineering, biowarfare, and the psychic systems, there are going to be new planet destroyers and megaships for everyone, new space creature with the Rift Striders and the Shakturi influencing all the existing space creatures to weaponize them against you. The space base starts. There's a lot going on here. No matter how many Rift Striders we destroy, there's always more. At 4x speed, that gets a little bit annoying. Alright, how are we doing now? We've still got Zeta Pasolus. Oh, there's more over here. And there. I'll queue those up. Okay, so that crash research helped. Our research breakthrough in xenobiological investigations has led to a curious discovery. Our findings indicate that the brain plasma of these creatures has potent plague-curing properties. Okay, perhaps harvesting this will help us manage the rapidly spreading psionic virus and other diseases. Further study of the Rift Strider's brains has produced significant results. Our scientists were able to determine that the virus was biologically engineered to attack the functioning of virtually any sentient species' brains. It is extremely sophisticated psychic and genetic technology beyond our understanding. Fortunately, we do not need to understand all of its intricacies to free ourselves of this plague. We now know enough to consider how a cure might be created. We cannot stop there, however. An enemy that can produce one plague can likely produce another. We must not assume the threat is over. We would be wise to explore further when we can so that we can better defend ourselves against the enemy with a sophisticated and deadly understanding of psychic technology. It is also possible that this technology could in the future be turned against the sinister minds that developed it. Aha, there's some foreshadowing. Understanding psychic and biological weaponry could well be vital to our war efforts. There is much more work to be done if we are to survive and triumph. Alright, so let's go back to our research tree for a sec here. And we now have the option to continue in biowarfare. Whoops. For biowarfare, to get the biowarfare complex and start in on plague curing. Or we can begin in genetic research and see what that reveals, or we can continue on the psychic side and see what that reveals. I'll let you all mull that over for a sec while I look at one other thing here. So if I go back to this, and we look at the Strider brain plasma that we looked at before, you'll now see now it has plus 8% colony development and plus 10% plague curing. So now the fact that we have, well, we don't have much of it, but this is now being, they know how to use this now to help with plague curing, whereas we didn't before. We didn't have any actual benefits to that before other than unlocking those research projects. So there's various bits of new tech in here that we're using in different ways. And the Hive are back. They finished, I guess, digesting our 2 billion Nectarians. So let's see. Let me refresh this. Does anyone have any thoughts on where we should direct our further research? Yes, now there is a reason to harvest brains. Alright, well, I haven't seen any decisive votes yet, so I'm going to say let's start the genetic tree, because we haven't done that at all yet, and see what that reveals for us. Let's bump that up. And I still have a nice surprise to show you all at the end when we conclude the stream, but we'll try to move things along a bit more until then. We've now loaded up 10 infantry, 2 armor, 2 planetary, 0 armor, 2 planetary defense. Alright, let's top you up with a few more ships. And let's get some more armor here. Good grief, I need to seriously battle baton brigades, sure. Need to build up some money and actually just recruit some troops for a bit to be prepared to fight the Beskar. Are the Shakturi winning? Well, we don't think so. I mean, right now they're down here, so clearly they're not much of a threat. I mean, I wouldn't worry about them if I were you. Of course, we seem to be swimming in Shakturi-created Rift Striders and Cyanic viruses, but again, I'm sure that's no big deal. We got research breakthrough. And our genetic research is rolling right along. And we've got 2 really nice worlds as far as income goes now. Alright, research complete. So we've completed our initial analysis of the Rift creature's remains. Its anatomy is segmented and in some ways recognizably insectoid, but our initial impression of a mechanical or constructed anatomy is hard to dismiss. Our scientists tell us that the creatures are undeniably alive and yet also undeniably constructed. They are, in other words, most likely the product of some sort of advanced genetic engineering. Perhaps more importantly, we've learned a great deal about the crystals we found within the creatures' bodies. They are connected and fed by the responding tissue, and yet they are indisputably inorganic. Moreover, their energy signature is not merely similar to that of galactic rifts, it is somehow interacting with those rifts. What is the nature of that interaction? Some scientists believe that the rifts somehow sustain the creatures, whereas others suspect a form of communication or perhaps mind control. What is undeniable is that a better understanding of the creatures is vital to understanding the rifts themselves. Alright, so that's hopefully interesting to you all. And we need to save up a little bit of money, and then we'll pick up on the next genetic research project. What the heck are you doing over there? Just passing through it to annoy me, huh, Biscara? Alright. Well, there are going to be fewer Tikans in the galaxy if these Shakturi psionic viruses continue going through their territory, I'll say that. Sure. Okay, so we've got enough to research this easily now, so let's take a look back here and get our genetic engineering going. And I'll give a more serious answer to the Shakturi winning. What you'll find is that when you actually get to the point in this, that you actually go to war with the Shakturi. Well, let me just say something about that too. Again, I don't want to spoil too much, but I can say this much. Your only option, fighting against the Shakturi, isn't your only option in this expansion. So, I'll leave that there. But let's say you do fight against the Shakturi. Let's say you fight against them and you have to win. So I showed earlier the war mission system. So you have, normally when you look at a galaxy, you see something like this, economy, population, territory, and then your race victory conditions, which are specific to the theme or playstyle of that particular faction. When you go to war with the Shakturi, it's the Freedom Alliance against the Shaktur Axis. And that becomes basically a sort of a zero-sum equation. So these normal events, victory conditions, empire by empire get suspended. And if you're the Freedom Alliance, you need to maintain your economy, population, and territory while completing enough of the things that the Shakturi need to have happen to them. So you find out, I don't want to spoil too much, this is why I'm trying to explain this without spoiling too much, but through going through the story and the research, you figure out how to defeat the Shakturi, okay? And then you have to do missions that help you actually execute your knowledge of how to defeat the Shakturi. When you've done all that, when you've hit the Shakturi where it really hurts and you've leveled the playing field against them, you can potentially convince them that they are in fact defeated. Can you play with a top-down? Yeah, well, you've got a bunch of different... Slow this down for a sec. You've got a bunch of different camera views. So you've got your default, you've got your freeform, which is what I was using, and you've got your top-down, just like DW2. And you can also, for those of you for whom this is maybe a little bit too busy, what you see in Distant Worlds 2, we have a state economy as well as a private economy. The civilian economy, you're not running all their ships. So if you don't want to see all the civilian ships, you don't have to. That cleans things up so that you're only seeing the state ships. But if you want to see everything that's really going on, you can see this and you can look at it. Like we can see, for example, here's a medium freighter from our civilian economy moving 1098 Phyraxian Firestone to our capital, Eurolon 3, which really needs Phyraxian Firestone if it's going to maintain its development level. It's one of the better luxury resources around here. I mean, if we just look at, again, all resources here, just luxury resources. It turned off the resource map by default, which is a little bit busy at this point in the game. but you can filter that down to a particular resource too. You can see these are all luxury resources that you can find, and here's Phyrexian Firestone. So if a colony has enough Phyrexian Firestone, that increases its development by 8% and its income by 1% to maintain a sufficient supply of Phyrexian Firestone. And if we take a look at our capital planet, where all this was heading, we can see these are the resources that it has on hand, and these are the levels it wants to maintain. And those are fuel and construction, which construction it needs for continued growth, and fuel it needs for for ships and such. And then you've got luxury resources. If we look at Phyrexian Firestone, you can see it wants to maintain a level of 729 at all times. It currently has 2558 on hand, but it's looking forward, and so more is being delivered to make sure it never actually runs out. And that's what maintaining, we can see here, that its development level, which is part of the core equation of how much this economy can actually produce. It's getting 50% of development rating from its population. It's got basically a max population. The planet's maxed out at about 5.5 billion. It's getting 20% more from other items. What are other items? Well, things like, for example, my planetary palace and my administration center, and the Space Traders Bazaar and the Meta Complex. Those are often facilities, and then 72% from resources, and that's growing. At about 150% development, you hit serious diminishing returns. So the more active your civilian economy is in terms of having good access to abundance of these luxury resources, that translates to increased development on all your colonies. And the more you have spaceports at your colonies to help draw those resources in from the mining stations to those hub spaceports, and then they get distributed from the spaceports to other spaceports along these hub networks by the bigger freighters. The more efficient they are at actually distributing these before the planets use them all up. So all the investments that you need to make in terms of your economy, all that stuff comes together. So when you look, for example, at your different technologies, when you're looking at hyperspace tech, that's not just how fast I can get from one system to another. That's also how fast my freighters can get from one system to another. And it's often how many jumps they have to take to get there, and how much fuel they burn getting there. So one of the basics of logistics, of course, is, let's say you're transporting fuel. Let's say you're mining Caslon and you have to transport it back. Well, you certainly don't want to use more Caslon transporting it than what you're able to transport. So having more efficient hyperdrives, being able to travel faster with less fuel, that makes a difference. The same thing goes back to reactors. Reactors play a big role in how much fuel and energy you're using. Same thing goes back to your engines. Like we've got ultra efficient engines. The fast, you can't go everywhere just with hyperspace. You go a certain distance away, and the gravity will makes you jump out of hyperspace, and you have to transit in sublight. The faster you are and the more efficient you are transiting in sublight, that also helps make your civilian economy more efficient. We've got medium and small freighters now, but we're researching the ability of large freighters. Large freighters will give you the most efficient hub routes where they can transport large numbers of resources from spaceport to spaceport to get them quickly shifting between things. So all those things together, and then you've got mining rate, right? So how efficient is your mining? If you improve your mining rate, then you end up with a lot more resources to be transported from the same number of mining locations. So to support as your colonies grow, you start out, you've colonized a few worlds, you've got a few 100 million people there. Well, now they've grown to 5 billion people. They need more resources to continue growing and developing than they needed when there were only 500 million. And if you're not building new mining stations, then your only real option is to increase the efficiency of the ones you already have. So all that factors in. You've also got the colonization techs, which improve the suitability of your planets, and terraformers, which can also improve their suitability, which can make with the population, how much population you can fit on the planets increase, and it can also make how much revenue they then generate from that population increase. But of course, the more population you have, like we were talking earlier, that also will change the amount of resources they demand. So that's a long answer to a short question. And do the Shakturi have their own economy? They have their own economy, and their economy is different when they are Rift refugees versus what they turn into later when they are no longer Rift refugees. We'll talk about that a bit. Can you also mod the ship icons? Yeah, I think people have already done some ship icon mods. Yeah, it is a very deep simulation. How elaborate is the manual? Uh, the manual gives you everything you need to understand how to play and what the most important things are to pay attention to, but there's a lot more to learn beyond that. So there are in-game tours and tutorials, and there's also an in-game Galactopedia here, which goes into even more detail. So it's a combination of the manual, the in-game tours, which when you play for the first time, they're all on by default. I've got them turned off now. And the Galactopedia that'll give you the most information. And there are also some really good guides that players have put together to expand on that stuff even further. Okay, so unusual readings. We are receiving unusual readings from the galactic rim. There is a sudden burst of energy of a sort we do not recognize and on a scale never previously recorded. Well, this doesn't seem like good news. Something is going on there. It would be wise to investigate, though we should do so cautiously. A closer examination of the energy source on the galactic rim reveals the existence of a mysterious beacon. It appears to be releasing a massive surge of psychic energy. Well, at least we know what psychic energy is now. It's no longer mysterious energy to us. We do not understand the purpose or implications of the energy surge. This development requires close monitoring and further studies. So, it's telling us to go investigate there. And the beacons are activating. We are detecting an unprecedented amount of psychic energy emanating from the galactic rim. Something is happening there. Our scientists are confused. Old hypotheses against new ones are being formed. It appears that this energy is attempting to tear the very fabric of space itself. We believe something terrible is coming. Okay. Shortly after we discovered these psychic beacons on the galactic rim, we noticed 3 similar, if significantly less powerful energy signatures. And those appear to now be pinging here. We don't think they are necessarily related to the beacons, but whatever's at these locations was likely built by the same intelligence that built the beacon. It may well be worth investigating. So, that's a lot that just happened there. So we have a lot of stuff that we could potentially explore there. How are our exploration ships doing? You know what? I think we'll build a few more of those. And I think we'll, what is this, up to 1 billion Tikans now? We'll build a spaceport there. Let's build a few more exploration ships. Now, if you leave it to the automation, it will actually go explore those pinged locations. We don't have to intervene, but we could if we wanted to speed things up. There's always a bit of a delay before your automated advisors notice things and figure them out and respond. A lot of people talk about how the game plays itself. It can, that's true, and that's actually a feature, but it can never play itself as well as if you play it. I mean, that's just a basic limitation. It can play it well enough that your economy will run, your empire will not fall apart, your empire will continue to grow and expand and so forth. But to make it do exactly what you want, you have 2 choices. You can go into your policies and adjust all the settings that help guide the automation so that it's doing things the way you would want them done. Or you can take over control of a particular area and do it yourself, which, of course, you as a player also have a limited amount of attention and time, so you can choose. Some players like to play on very slow speed and do everything themselves. Some like to play very fast and do very little themselves and just rely on policy settings and automation. Some do it in between. I'm more of an in-between, but leaning a bit towards, like, maybe half of it to do myself if I'm playing on my own, and maybe some of the things that are less of interest to me, you know, keep them automated, and it lets you tailor it as you wish for that. So we have an explorer here. That's a constructor. Those are constructors heading over towards abandoned ships. But one of our explorers over here has already assigned itself to go look at what's going on here in this location. So let's see what happens there. And I think as soon as that happens, we might pause, and then I'll show you the, because it is getting a bit late, I might pause and show you the grand finale for this preview, because this is just a preview, and then I'll remind you all that later this week, keep an eye out, we will be doing a big announcement with more details about the return of the Shakturi expansion and we'll be putting up a product page along with an exact release date. So this is just meant to whet your appetites, to give you a little preview of what's to come without spoiling too much. But there will be another live stream at least on the release date, and we should be doing some dev diaries between now and then to also help go through in writing some of the systems that I previewed today. Speed it up to 8x just for a short while. Oh, that's not good. An underwater Leviathan attacked one of our colonies. And as a reminder for those who tuned in late, also one of the things I wasn't able to show today because it's still a work in progress, should hopefully be done in about 2 weeks, is a revamp of the message notification system to bring the late game messaging spam under control and into better organization. So here we have 2 things going on in this location. Both of them are pinging, so let's see what we find here. A Biowarfare archive. Isn't that interesting? I wonder what that's about. Looks like the Quamino have a mining station here, mining for Jacanta ivory and Trebulian moss on this ice planet. Yeah, it does look welcoming, doesn't it? I mean, that's just like they've rolled out the red carpet for us. I'm sure this is because they want to be friends. There's also something here. Unknown ruins. We will see what they find. We will see what they find. Another one of our exploration ships picked up on it. And then this one over here. Oh, they're going to go refuel in the system, and then they're probably going to take on a few more missions. So we'll see. We'll see what they may find. We are also almost done with this second genetic investigations tech. Just trying to speed things along a little bit for you all. I would normally be playing this a little slower. Corn? Corn. It is the season for corn. There's some very good corn, fresh corn available nowadays. That's what you meant, right? A tear in space. Something incredible is happening. The beacons at the galactic rim have become very active. They are tearing massive holes into the very fabric of space. This is a reordering of the laws of physics unlike anything we've ever seen. We don't know how this is possible. Whoever and whatever can do this must surely be capable of things beyond our imagination. How do we prepare for the unimaginable? It's a good question. You guys will get to find out on your own. How do you prepare for the unimaginable? And each of you may have a different solution. So our research breakthrough in genetic investigations has led to a curious discovery. We have completed our further study of the rift creatures and their strange crystals. There is no longer any doubt that the creatures are the product of a sophisticated genetic engineering project vastly beyond our understanding. And yet, if we were to improve our understanding, we would be well positioned not only to fight these creatures, but also to apply this knowledge to our own projects. If we could enhance our own genetics, there is almost no limit to what we could achieve. We have also learned more about the rift crystals found in these creatures' bodies. They are, as we suspected, interacting with the rifts. The creatures appear to be what allowed the creatures, crystals rather, appear to be what allowed the creatures to move through the rifts. Additionally, the creatures are in constant communication with the rifts. We cannot know with any certainty the specific nature of that communication, but all signs point to a psychic record of everything that the creatures do and see. The rift creatures are, in other words, spies, reporting our activities back to their masters. We must now accept that we are under a powerful enemy's watchful eye. And I think this is probably where we'll stop for today. We are receiving a signal from the galactic rim at the location of the mysterious beacon. Information is fragmentary and unreliable, but there are reports of a fleet emerging from the rifts in the fabric of space itself. This fleet includes a massive ship built on a scale unknown in our galaxy. These ships are reportedly firing on any ship they come across. No one has survived the encounter. These rips in space are clearly a means of transportation, though its nature is beyond our experienced understanding. What will happen if we go to war with the aliens who can travel by destroying space? Will our hyperdrive technology appear primitive and woefully inadequate by comparison? We must prepare ourselves if we can. And let me just see here. So can I if I go over here for a sec, can I unfortunately we don't have a ship there right now. Can I get a ship there real fast? Yeah. Let's just take a quick look here and see what we see, and then we'll stop there. And I'll mention one more time, the final Rift graphic is not in yet, but will be before release. So at the final release, you'll see something else very impressive here, sort of like what you saw in the illustration as far as the Rift itself goes. But I should be able to show you some Shakturi ships. That's the main thing I'm going to leave you with at this point. Hopefully they're still around in this area. Aha. Alright. So we found some ships. It seems like a few ships have come through the rift. This would be a Shakturi battleship that's not inactive. That's not a derelict one, like the one we saw earlier. We have a fuel tanker. What is this? This is a heavy cruiser. So this would be a Shakturi heavy cruiser. You saw some of that in the art that I started the stream with. I'll put that art up again in a sec. And for those of you who are interested, there are these runes on their ships. Don't know what that's about. But yeah, so there are a few Shakturi that have emerged from the rift, and over here we see these world ships, which seem to be carrying lots and lots of Shakturi. Here we have a Shakturi carrier. So, folks, get ready. The Shakturi are coming, and keep an eye out later this week for an announcement with the exact release date. I'll leave you guys there for a sec with that, and I'm going to do one more thing for the grand finale, but I need to prepare for that for a sec, so I'm going to give you this screen again for a moment. And while I get that ready, I'll give you a little bit of music. I will be right back. This is not quite the end of the stream, so stay tuned. I'll be back in about 1 minute with the grand finale. Stop this and turn off the screenshot here. I'm going to show you guys one last sneak peek. We were playing as the Egdarians, so I thought you might want to see the Egdarian Planet Destroyer. So this is if you have the Return of the Shakturi expansion, then every playable faction, including the DLC factions, will get their own megaship. In this case, this is for the Egdarians. This is their Planet Destroyer. And the Egdarians have gotten at this point to the point where they are getting desperate, and they need to test out something to roll the Shakturi back. As I mentioned, once you get the Freedom Alliance... Oh, you can't hear me through the music. Let's see, how's that? Turn all these down. Let me start over. So this is an Egdarian Planet Destroyer, and if you have the Return of the Shakturi expansion, then every faction in the game, including all the DLC factions, will now get access to a megaship, a Planet Destroyer of their own, or something else. Just as an example of something else, the Kwamino get a gigantic mobile robotic troop foundry as a megaship that continually generates robotic troops and lets them unload them on worlds as they go. There's other things like that, but the main thing is Planet Destroyers. So here we have the Egdarian Planet Destroyer, and the Egdarians here are getting a little desperate. So they need to find something that will help push back the Shakturi Axis. And the Shakturi Axis has been going around blowing up planets with their Planet Destroyers, which the Shakturi bring to the galaxy first. And while the Egdarians are normally not a very super warlike faction, this requires extreme measures. So I'm going to show you all a little grand finale here. They found a rocky silicon planet, completely uninhabited, that the Egdarians are willing to test this out on. So we're going to watch as this happens. Hang on. Turn this off. So we see it charging up. Should be close. 17 seconds to go. 16, 15, 14, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. I'm going to turn off the interface. And there goes our test planet. Now we have, turn the interface back on, now we have shards of Endelian 1 to play around with. So that's what happens when you really get serious. If the Shakturi push you to your limits, then you might have to go there at some point. And so that gives you an idea of what the Egdarians can do in that case. Alright? So folks, that will be the grand finale for this stream. And whoops, didn't mean to do that. And I will sign off from here. I look forward to hearing from you all. If you have more questions on the forum and on our Discord server, on the official Distant Worlds 2 Discord server, I encourage you to keep an eye on things. Again, later this week, there will be a product page up for Distant Worlds 2, both on our store and on Steam, for the Return of the Shakturi expansion for Distant Worlds 2. Encourage you to keep an eye on it, and that announcement later this week will also include the official release date, and there will be developer diaries going through some of the new features, both the ones that are part of Shakturi and the ones that will be released free to our customer base, just as part of the Shakturi development work, and that'll carry us right up through the release date. And I will be back on the release date of Return of the Shakturi to stream this again and show you everything with some spoilers. Okay. And I will leave you all with this. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you for your interest and support of Distant Worlds 2. I appreciate, please help spread the word and let everyone know that the return of the Shakturi is coming. The Shakturi are on their way back. Bye, everyone.